Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shannon Rosgar, Membership Director with Women's Council Collin County. It is my pleasure today to interview a friend of mine that I've known for a couple of years. She's very talented, very Southern traditional, and she's got a great sense of humor, and you definitely can learn a few things from her. She has recently became one of our gold partners, and so as part of our partner spotlights, we're adding value and bringing them to our podcast. So, Terry, it is my privilege to say she's our first partner interview. If some of you are not familiar with us, Women's Council, we're a group of realtors that are helping each other along, training you, being your cheerleader, that way teaching leaders in the community, and we serve the Collin County. Our mission with our podcast is to teach you. For this way, you take a nugget that maybe you didn't know and take it and become better. Our target is anybody in the real estate community or anybody that's in business that's wanting to learn and just make themselves better and to grow. So, a couple of things about us. We are nationwide. We do have men. It's just not all women. So, don't let that deceive you. But the cool part of it is it's just a sisterhood supporting everybody. And then, two, we're wanting to add value to what we can bring to our viewership with with partnering with the Difference podcast. So it's my pleasure to go ahead and introduce Miss Terry. She's with Terry Morgan Designs. So welcome, Miss Terry.
Hello.
So as I said, Terry started with us in 2020 as a bronze sponsor, and this year she has become a gold partner. So it's exciting. She is our first official partner interview on the podcast. So Terry and I know each other from a few years ago. We met through Metro Crest Chamber of Commerce and have become friends. And we're part of another group that we call the board. So this way, just helping each other mentor. And so I thought she'd be a great fit for Women's Council. So Terry, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Shannon, for having me today. I am an interior designer, and I went back to design school, I guess, when I was 39, when my boys were old enough and in school, and I had time to do things that I wanted to do. And it took me a few years, but I finally graduated in 2007 and worked for someone else for almost a year, and then decided that I was going to go out and do my own thing, launch a business in 2008. So we all know what happened in 2008. So I was forged in fire. So everything I've learned on my own, and it's taken me longer. But I love what I do. I've always been a creative. I just didn't know I was an interior designer. I just knew that creating was compulsive. So I can't always do things for myself because my husband will only allow me to do so many things so many times. So I have the ability now that I can go do it on someone else. So
That's the beauty. I mean, I think I don't think there's just one fit. I think in life we have to evolve. I mean, we all start in one path, and then you go down that path, and whether that's motherhood, whether it be business professional, stepping into real estate, whichever. That way you look back and you're like, all of those steps led you to where you are today. You wouldn't be who you are today without having to go those steps. Now, granted, not all those steps are fun, but that's the beauty of learning and challenging yourself. One of our local presidents, she's actually our national president elect, she always says, are you 1% better than you were the day before? So she's always challenging you to learn and to grow. And that's the beauty of Women's Council and then being involved, because we're a group here to support one another. We all, are involved in some aspect in real estate. Whereas someone, whether I'm inspecting our home or, one of my guys are inspecting a home, or whether, Shirley's out selling a house, or, someone else is relocating or doing property management. That's the beauty. We all come together to support and see how we can work together. And that's one of the couple of things that the Women's Council is founded on is just education, the networking, the referrals, and the leadership. One of the sayings a friend of mine says, we fell our way into success. So just go ahead and just step on that bridge and just take a huge leap of faith. So, but as I said earlier, you're very much a Southern girl. So what are some of the things that make you unique in some of your designs and some of how you embrace or your philosophy on interior design?
Well, since I'm not from Texas originally, I'm from Kentucky. So I grew up in a completely different environment aesthetic than what Texas has to offer. But I got here as fast as I could. So I've been in Texas longer than I was ever in Kentucky. So I'm kind of half and half. But because of that, I'm personally on a personal level, I am much more traditional, and the furniture styles that I like personally are different than what you find in most homes here in Texas, especially the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Everything is big and ornate here, and I do like ornate, but I tend to be a bit more minimal about how much ornamentation there is on furniture or anything generally. So, but as a rule, designers are not supposed to design based on their own aesthetic. They're supposed to design according to what the client wants. And, most people start, designers that, and decorators, they go out with the intent that, oh, I'm going to make their house so much better than what it is. And they don't listen to the client. And it ends up looking like something that is not, it's not their house. They end up doing something that might look like their neighbors or their uncle's house, or their it's, I don't know if you've ever had a family member come over and critique your house. Oh, why did you do that? Or how come you painted that color? Or why did you buy that sofa? So there's, everybody has that one family member that wants to come and just rip everything apart that you just spent every penny you had and stressed over, and now they're all just tearing it apart. For me, when I first start working with a client, I can tell when that person is not real confident in their decisions, and that's typically why that they reach out to a designer, because they don't have that confidence in doing things, that they're so fearful of the criticism that they're going to get from their friends and family, especially family. So that I really try hard to get the client to think about what it is that they want, because it's their house. They have to live in it every day. And then it's, once they finally let go, it's like, okay, I really like it. I'm just going to do it. And so then it's like, okay, well, good. We're good. Let's do it. And then if Aunt so-and-so or Uncle Billy Bob or whomever comes over and starts critiquing, you can blame it on me. I'll take the fall for it. My designer, she just insisted that I don't know why we did it, but we did it. Now I've got to live with it. So, I'll be the bad guy. So, but it's really hard for people to let go and do things that they really want, that they really like, for fear of criticism and commitment. And designers are the same way. We have to hire other designers to come in and help us because we have the same issue.
Well, it's like I know before, and some of the things in the past, it's just like a lot of people would say, your clothes, mimics, and your color palettes kind of mimic, then you see in your designs at home than you just see in fashion. And that's the beauty. It's like yes, when you're buying that little black dress, I mean, yes, that little black dress we all have in our closet in several different styles, but that's a smaller commitment than going out and buying that sofa or picking paint colors because I remember helping a friend paint one time and I did not realize how many shades of like gold yellow and it was just like thousands. And that's the thing, it's just like somebody was joking. So it's like HGTV makes it look like one way, but the reality of it is something different. What they put in that 30-minute show, I think, is unrealistic. And I think a lot of people just try to copy a different trend. And I don't think they have like you said, the confidence to put something together. So, what has been one of your success stories that you've had with working with someone where you walked in and thought, she really needs my services, or I'm going to help her, or I'm not going to help her?
Well, um, usually by the time that I'm in someone's house, they've decided it's the decision has been made that that they're going to hire me and I have to be there to help them. Not, that's rarely does it happen that I don't follow through and do and take on a design project. But the the biggest challenge that people have is just that embracing what that they want and what they need, as opposed to the HGTV, like you said. That in designer circles, we all love Joanna Gaines, we all love Magnolia, and but how many times can you do shiplap?
Yeah.
So with what I always tell my clients when they start, it's like, oh, we have to have subway tile, we have to have shiplap, we have to have white or gray, and just for the record, gray is a great hue when it's a hue, but when it's a neutral, I'm over it. So I don't like to do gray. Putting that out there right now, but if you are going to hire a professional to do something different with your house, to improve on it, to make it functional, to make it to have that aesthetic that you really want. Why do you want to have a house that looks the same thing as everyone else's? Everybody else has farmhouse, industrial farmhouse, modern farmhouse. How many farmhouse looks can you get? And so if you're going to take the time and spend the money to work with a professional to make your house look unique and express you're the one that has to live with it. When you get up in the morning to make your coffee and you look at the walls and you sit on that chair at the dining room table, it's you that has to like it and not anyone else. And it shouldn't be the same thing that you see in a showroom.
Well, if anything, the last year has taught us. I mean, our home has become our haven. I mean, our little slice. I mean, that's been your cocoon, and that's in the past. I mean, you go out traditionally, you always come home, but I think if anything, that's one of the that's been kind of everybody is taken. It's like, hey, this is where I'm at. So where some people are working from home now, not going to the office. But it's interesting to see what people either have confidence in or how they do something. And I know when my husband jokes when we first got our first house almost 19 years ago, you're like, all righty. That was my joke. I'd always cost myself more money, more time. It always led to a fight. Um, and but through trial and error but owning a house can be overwhelming as it is. But that's kind of the beauty, I think, especially as we get older. I mean, you kind of grow into your skin. But
Yeah.
the cool part of it is if they're spending money, like you said, you want to be unique. You want to be uniquely you. You want to create your space that reflects who you are. You don't want to live in a house that has someone else's personality.
And it takes
And
time.
yeah, and the cool part of it is I can say, I mean, there's some things I'm okay with for certain things, but when we were building our house, what we started in 2016, there are certain things I knew right away. Like my hardwood floors that I wanted. I knew certain aspects that I wanted. But what was the most overwhelming to me was the tile. I knew what granite I wanted, but then to put stuff together, and then when you're going, it's like, okay, this is this, this is this. But that's the crazy part. Some people, have to make a decision right away, where other people, can't. But that's the cool part. So, what would be some tips that you would give someone now if they're wanting to start with a little, maybe because maybe they've been in that house, and maybe that, they want to have a separate space. They don't need to have that formal dining room, or they don't need to have, or they know their kitchen, what they thought was enough space, but they want to redo it. What are some of the most popular trends or requests that you're seeing right now?
Um, well, there's I I'll tell you this. Most of my clients are empty nesters or newly retired, and they are looking to change their entire environment. They're either gonna gut and redo their entire house, or they're gonna move into another house, and it's gonna not be anything like they've lived with for the last 30 years. And so, as an empty nester, you don't need a dining room and a breakfast table. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? You drink your coffee, either, your iPad, or, does anybody read the newspaper anymore? It's you're usually sitting in a comfortable chair and you're absorbing some sort of information, whether it's a paper or iPad or your laptop. I think I've done all of that in the last week. But in the mornings, it's that coffee. It's a ritual. You've as an empty nester or newly retired, you've worked really hard, and you enjoy that time in the morning with your coffee. So why do it in a rigid chair at a breakfast table that has you sitting like this?
Yeah.
So my favorite thing to do for that particular client is creating a coffee nook instead of a breakfast nook.
Yeah.
You have a dining room, or you have a peninsula, or an island that you can sit and eat if you want to eat breakfast there. So that's my favorite thing to do for people, and they love it, is to turn that breakfast area into a cozy coffee nook. It's a perfect size to have a couple of comfy chairs, an oversized side table. You put a pretty lamps, maybe something to keep a book, or it's just comfortable and cozy. And my clients, they love that. As far as color trends, whites. When people ask me for grays, it's just like, oh God, please no. But I love gray as a hue, but not as a neutral. My I like whites, but I don't like cold whites. I like warm whites, and that are cheerful. I like mixing up colors. I always like to do an accent wall, and that's an opportunity for you to get all kind of freaky with color. That's going to freak out, your aunt and uncle when they come over, and oh my gosh. So, if you want to have gray walls everywhere, then go crazy and do an accent wall with some crazy wallpaper, crazy wall color that you might like. And but that's probably the biggest thing that I do for my clients is doing those specialized spaces that are comfortable, that are useful and functional, and not just because that someone said, okay, you have to have this space for this and this space. Use it the way that you use your house. Make it work for you. You don't work for it. It works for you.
Well, especially if they've waited this long to, like you said, the empty nesters, because what your home functioned as before. I mean, whether you had kids, family coming through, And now when you're at a different stage of your life, I mean, you've kind of put things on hold or you've done different things. So go ahead and invest and make it your own and that way embrace your space. And that's kind of the cool part because people that wouldn't do things before, because I think before it's like, oh, you need to get married, you need to, register for your china and your crystal. Well, how many people use china and crystal nowadays? I mean, it's just like you have your favorite cup. But it's interesting to see people kind of get out of that original box or how we originally went with them at first. You want to shake things up a little bit. So the housing market right now is very strong. And yes, I mean, we know from stats that, listings are down. And yes, the pricing right now you're getting more. But that's kind of where we were a few years ago when we sold our house. I'm like, yes, it's great that we made money. But then it was kind of a little scary. It's like, okay, now I have to turn around and go buy something. So are you finding more people wanting to work with you and a designer and just rework their current home and kind of give it a new floor plan? What are you seeing some of the trends, or what do you anticipate happening in the next year or so with this housing market?
Well, that's one of the first questions that I ask is, how long are you going to stay here? Are you going to consider selling? Because how much effort and how much you personalize that space or that house for that client really depends on, are you going to be here for 2 years, 5 years, or 20 years?
Yeah.
So, and then also my husband's a real estate appraiser, so that's in my head to not mess up the house so badly. So, it's important to really think, 5 years is still a good long period of time, but it's not forever. So, that is something to consider when it comes about budget and how much you do. Furniture is one thing, but if you're going to do kitchens and bathrooms, those are the money rooms. So, which I'll tell you, I'm getting ready to do my kitchen, and I've spent the last month redesigning the layout of the cabinets and getting the go ahead with the appliances, and now everything's ordered. So I'm going to be my own worst client here in a little bit. But the kitchens and the bathrooms are probably the biggest thing, because the rest of it is just walls. You can paint. Everything else is just walls. If you have dogs or kids, the floors, those are kind of a short-term thing because they're going to be trashed. They're going to, especially with kids, if you have wood, it doesn't matter how durable they are, they're going to do something to destroy them. Speaking from experience with 2 boys and a dog, the kitchen is probably the biggest thing to consider that I like to put the money in, but redoing a house. And I do see more people choosing to stay in their house, because when you think about it, if you've got a really nice house, it just has 1980s interior, so it's a lot less expensive to bring your house up to date on the inside as it is to go and buy another house that is new and modern the way that you would want. More than likely, you're not going to get the same amount of house.
No.
So you might as well stay where you are and bling it out the way that you want it. And, the kitchen is probably the biggest, kitchen and master bath, that's where you're going to use. Those are the most important spaces. That's where you put all your money and make it work. Don't settle. Make it work. Spend a little extra on things that are important and a little less on the things that are just, trendy.
Well, that was one of the things with my old house. It's like we did stuff with the other in the kitchen. The kitchen, we always thought, okay, it wasn't, but 13 years. And then it's just like, kitchen was one of those things that we never got around to. So I know when we built our house this time, that was the main focus of how we wanted. So the space of what we had before, and the design of what we have. But one of the things that I love, and if you've been to my house, I mean, is we all sit around, there at the bar, and it's more functional. I mean, I started with a few bar stools, and like, hey, I mean, everybody was sitting around, having a glass of wine, having cheese and crackers, whatever. And you find you want to make those spaces that you spend time in the most cozy, especially because I think too, we go into a house, we think, okay, this storage is going to work. And then, like with anything, you live with it. But as you said, for those people that are at that age and wanting to spend, to make it their own, because right now, yes, you can go sell your house, but where are you going to go buy? Yes, Dallas is leading, as you mentioned, your husband being an appraisal. Yes, you're getting further and further out there, but are you truly getting some of the features that you want? And I'll say, because I know your location and I know my location, you're in North Dallas and I'm over in Carrollton. That's the thing. Yes, right now commuting may or may not be an issue, but if you go settle, where are you going to go buy, and then where are you going to go commute to? And that's kind of the cool part, as you're in a house and then you can see the character, and you build, and it becomes your haven. And as you entertain more, and that's the cool thing too, because it's just like how you entertain one way. And then now I know my sanity has definitely been saved by having my patio and being able to go out the past year and have that outdoor room, because this way, you might not be getting out and moving around, but you can at least go sit outside with the patio, watch TV, listen to the radio or whatever, and just be the escape. So are you seeing people looking to expand their outdoor areas, or?
Yeah, there are a lot. Personally, I don't do a lot of outdoor living spaces, but it is a very prominent part of with especially the newer homes. And I think it's because of the way that our lives have evolved, and with larger families with kids, you try to get people outside more than inside. But it's you also there's extra cost there, because if you're going to have a living space outside in Texas, we're not California. We don't have that nice breeze coming off the ocean. The temperatures being just so, maybe a little humid, but I can take that. No, it's either we're going to close all the doors and keep the mosquitoes out, or everything is open, and and you live with the bugs. There's not an in between. So in order to have that outdoor space that is comfortable and cozy without being eaten alive with bugs, you have to have ceiling fans. In the wintertime, you have to have the fireplace, whether it's gas or wood. You have the outdoor kitchens. Those things get really pricey very fast. And but yeah, those outdoor living spaces, the outdoor furniture is expensive as indoor furniture, but it's more durable. Maybe not quite as, I've considered, when I was younger, I considered having outdoor furniture inside my living room because of boys and dogs. At least you could drag it outside and put a water hose to it and get rid of everything they leave behind.
Well, I definitely run that.
Yeah.
With my fur baby, I definitely transition to indoor outdoor rugs. Like you said, they have an accident, you go put it in the driveway, dawn, rinse off, and you're good to go. So.
Yeah. But coming back to the, with, as I said, most of my clients are those empty nesters or newly retired. The first time homeowner, or that new family, they move into a house, and they're conditioned to think that, oh my gosh, I have to furnish the living room, I have to have the dining, all the dining room furniture done, I have to have drapes, I have to have all these things. They think that it has to happen overnight. And my generation, your generation, we're a few years difference, but in our parents' generation, when you moved into a house, and people used to stay in a house for many years. Those things don't happen overnight, and if they do, you don't appreciate it, or it's disposable furniture and disposable items because it's made so quickly. So the biggest thing that trying to convince the younger generation when they're buying a house is that allow yourself time to evolve in that house. Every house you live, you have a different personality. Your lifestyle is different. Your friends are different. Your neighbors are different. So it's okay not to have an instant furnished designed house. Live in it, everything is different. And so you can't take everything out of one house that you lived in and it was comfortable and beautiful. And it's like, oh, I'm not getting rid of this. I'm going to take everything and I'm going to put it in my new house. It doesn't work that way.
Well, that's why they would need to call you.
Yeah.
That's
okay to take time. Take 6 months, take a year.
Well, I think if anything, the past year has taught us to slow down and make that your nest, make it your space, make it you. So that's the beauty of, especially if you're investing, if you've got to that point in your life that you're going to make the change that, I've lived with my kitchen, I want it to be this way now. That's the beauty, because there's only certain things that you can do as a homeowner. And that's the things I've learned to pick and choose my battles in life. And that's why I say there's experts out there such as yourself, because I've always cost myself more money than I need to be. So when they work with you this way, you can give them more realistic expectations. So that's the cool thing. So what would be a nugget of wisdom or something that you would want someone listening to take away about your services and what you can do for them?
Again, take time. Take time, do research, hire a designer. That with me, when I always do an in-home consultation before I take any new client. And I charge for my consultation, but that consultation is it helps create a roadmap for you as a homeowner to really understand what you need to do to get all the things to happen the way that you want. You start here and you have in your mind what you want it to look like that's over here. And there's a whole lot of stuff in between there that has to happen. And but you have no idea how to get there. So take time, consult with a professional. And like with me, when I do my consultations, I come with a tape measure. I bring my fan deck. I have a journal for the client, and I like to do them early in the mornings. I say early, 10 o'clock, because it's after traffic and I've been caffeinated. So, and I'm fresh. So because when we're done, we both need a nap. Because there's a lot of information that is exchanged, and I wear my clients out because it's like blah. They ask the question and then I give them all this information. Oh yeah, write that down. Oh yes, and write this down, and let's do some quick measurements and figure out, do you really need that sofa, or do you really need that table, or is it going to work? No, it's not. This is why. All of those things happen in a consultation, 2 hours. It gives you an idea of, can I really do the things that I want to do? Can I do it on my own now that, that Terry's explained to me what I need to do to get there? Can I do it on my own as a DIY person? Or do I need to hire a contractor? Do I need to hire Terry to hold my hand through all of it? And it helps really clean out all the cobwebs so you can have a better vision how to move forward.
Well, that's a good part. I mean, and definitely, like you said, I mean, you're an expert. You know the trends. You know how to make the most of their money. You know how to steer them in which direction they're needing it to go. Um, and that's the cool part. So we're very excited to have you as a partner. And I have to say, you know, Terry was at our event a couple weeks ago, and so she got involved in interactive. But that's the beauty of Women's Council is going to be getting involved, and Terry's been a great example. She's just jumped in and become one of our partners, getting involved, chatting with people, and getting to know. And that's the beauty. She wants to share her wisdom with you, share, you know, take your space from vanilla to extraordinary. She definitely can do that. So her information, Terry, you want to give out your contact information?
Yeah, it's in the chat. I'm not sure if that's visible to everyone. Terry Morgan Designs, and you can go to my website and you can learn about me, what I do, and my processes, and my portfolio is on my website, so you can see. I just added a new project to my website this last week, so there's a whole new Shannon, you'll have to go see. Yeah, and they're mixed in. So, and then, you know, if you're interested, or if any of your clients desperately need some guidance from a designer, I do 30-minute phone consultations, or in the new era of video, I can do Zoom or FaceTime consultations, and those are complimentary. And, you know, as Shannon knows, I've never done anything that's just 30 minutes or a 2-hour consultation, because it's like, oh yes, and oh yes, we can do that too. But I do 30-minute consultations, and then from there I can do the in-home consultation. And my favorite type of project is working on a flat fee, where you know how much it's going to cost. I know what I'm going to have to do. We don't veer much from it. We have a time frame, and that's it. So it keeps it simple. And I'm not an accountant, so that's not my favorite thing. I'm a designer. I'm a darn good designer, but I suck at bookkeeping. So.
That's one thing, and we've learned to embrace your strengths, because my weakness may be your strength and vice versa. But that's the beauty when you know you're pick and choose your battles. You know, hire an expert, make the space perfect as to what you're wanting. But also too, just as this way, please follow us on our socials. You can find us on Facebook at WCR Collin County. This way you can see our upcoming events. We have one coming up in East Plano next, in a couple of weeks. It's weird to say this is 1st of April. But anyway, but we would love to share Women's Council more with you. My information there, that's the business. My cell is 972-896-4047. We would love to share Women's Council as a realtor. We'd love to have you become one of our partners and making a difference in our community. And this way, just working together as a team to make it a little bit better. But thank you so much for listening today, and we will see you again on the 21st with our next partner. So thank you guys. Thank you, Miss Terry, for being part of the show today.
It was a pleasure, and I enjoyed it. Thank you.